do this, so it's happening. And as you can also see, I am driving. That's correct. However, I'm not holding the phone. It is mounted, and my eyes are on the road. I may occasionally look at the camera, but fortunately, I positioned the camera where even if I look at it, I can still see the road right in front of me. So we'll give this a shot, see how it works out. Because I came to this epiphany, with a multitude of things. One is I've been meaning to record videos to post on YouTube for quite some time. And I just kind of thought, well, I got to do research, right? And I did a lot of research. In fact, I did a ton of research. And I've just been putting it off because there's a deeper reason behind it. There's a much deeper reason behind it. But I've been putting it off. And I decided today is the day I'm going to start it up. And, I'm not going to do any fancy editing or, all that good stuff that goes in the video. I'm just going to post it. Just going to put it out there. Just get it over with, right? So this is really just the first of many videos, but this is the one video that I got to do in order to get to 2. That's the key right there. Is in order to get to the next video, you got to do the first one. And if you don't do the first one, you're never going to get to the 10th, 20th, 100th, 1000th video. You just got to do it. So this is day 1 of creating a YouTube video. Probably not the greatest way to start it because it's completely dark and you can't see my face. So that's kind of important, like to see something in a video. So this is basically going to be an audio for the first 5 or so 10 minutes probably until the sun pokes out, hopefully. And this is just the point of it. Really, it's just this is the point right here, is just getting the first one done, And why am I doing it though? Let's get to that part right there. So the reason that I am doing this is because it really comes down to a very deeper background behind why I'm doing it. It really stems back 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, approximately 8 years ago, I came across something that really changed my whole perspective in life. Like it really completely changed my outlook. And prior to that, I really had a very small kind of scope on life. It wasn't necessarily a good, bad, right, or wrong. It was just my way of thinking, and the way I viewed the world was very different. It's simpler. Life was good. I was happy. Everything was okay. But I guess to get real specific, all the way up growing up as a child and going, I'd like to say I had a pretty good childhood. My parents got divorced, and all that stuff. But other than that, I had food in my stomach, clothes on my back, a roof over my head, and ultimately parents that loved me. And that's a big deal, right? So I have nothing to complain about in that sense, right? But then again, we were probably about middle class. Depends, low middle class, depending on how you want to view it. So, we take a vacation, once a year, maybe once every other year, right? And all that good stuff, So the good thing was, hey, I had a pretty good life. The bad thing was I had just a average kind of cookie cutter life. So that was where my mindset was at, you know what I mean? And again, I don't want to understate that I had some awesome support from my parents. That's a big deal. But with that said, I want to really press that my thought process, my thinking was capped. There was, I only had there was a ceiling, that went so high, and that was it. I hit the ceiling, and ultimately, to get back to the 8 years ago, or roughly around that time frame, I was, prior to this, never had, I cannot recollect having even the slightest belief that I could actually start a business or run a business or entertain anything in that spectrum of owning and operating a business. Whether it's brick and mortar or just business. Let's just keep it at that. There's so many different business models out there and different ways to operate and run a business. But just the idea of me being an owner of a business and not the employee of that business for that owner, I truly believe I had zero inclination to how I could even go about starting that, and even the desire to do it. And on that fateful day, I still remember the day. I don't remember the date. I can probably figure it out if I go back and really look into it. I don't remember the date. I know it was roughly about 8 years ago, but I remember what day it was. And that's how you know, if you look at memories, right, and you think of how can you remember things so many years back? Like some people remember things 20, 30 years ago, and you got to ask, like, how is that possible? Because really memories are kind of like, I don't want to go too far off of, the point here, but memories are kind of like, if you look at like a CPU, right? Like if you look at like a motherboard, well, not a motherboard, I should say more like a hard drive, and you look at memory and how it's stored, right? You can just go into the computer file and you can just dig into the files and you can pull stuff out. But for human beings and their brains, it's similar to that, but there's a lot more nuanced factors to it than what meets the eye. One of them being is if there's a very strong emotional feeling that can be tethered to that memory, that's something that typically can be brought forth in your head very quickly and accurately too. You can remember a lot of things vividly. And I still remember the day. I remember the day before I was talking to my son's mom, right? My first wife, right? And ultimately what I found was she kind of alluded to as somebody who she was indirectly working for at the time. She worked with special needs clients, and this is one of the parents of that said client. And I'll probably leave names out right now because this is my first video, and I don't know what legal terms you have to meet and legal requirements I got to meet. So I'll just keep it like that. Maybe one day I'll drop names and all that good stuff. But long story short is that she alluded to this guy having some kind of magic pills that he was selling, and that's all he did for work. And I was like, what do you mean? He just, what is he? Does he own? He's like, no, he doesn't own the company. He's just selling some kind of super awesome product, and you should check it out. It's something to that extent, right? And it created enough curiosity for me where I said, okay, let's see what this is all about. I was like, what the heck do I got to lose? I was living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, we were barely making it. I think even at that time we weren't even together, but we were still working together, right? We got along, which is really important, right? Especially because we had a son, right? And I just wanted to do the best I could for them, and I was just trying. I was trying to make it. I was working 2 jobs, and in that day, just that day, I signed up. I put it on the credit card that I really couldn't afford, and I just dove in, and it was such a mental shift for me to see, and what it was that I want to really anchor it back to really get the point of this story and why I'm doing this video right now. And it took me 8 years to get here to this point, but why I'm doing it. This was the seed that was planted 8 years ago that has really led up to this point, and why I'm creating this video right here, right now. And I want to start making new videos on YouTube, and there's a lot more that goes into this than what meets the eye, right? There's a lot more that I've found along that 8-year span that has led up to this point. But I really want to start from the beginning, right? I really want to get you to understand the beginning of where this all stems from. And the reason I saw multi-level marketing, network marketing, and I think I am confident over $1,000. Like it took me meeting some person I never met in my life, seeing it, getting the concept. I got the concept, and the concept is what pushed me to pay that much money that I really didn't have. I seriously didn't. I'm not kidding. I was working and making very little money, and it wasn't my money. It was the bank's money, right? And that's what really led me to doing it. And the reason why was because I saw a model that ultimately was going to allow me to get what I want by helping other people to get what they want. I was struggling. I was barely making it financially. And I saw this and said, wow, you're telling me that if I help other people to start a business and make money, that I will make money in the process too. And I said, shoot, I didn't even know this was possible. I'm not even kidding. At this time, this would mean 8 years ago from right now. I'll let you do the math on this one. I was probably about 27 years old, and I had never, on top of me not even having a zero desire to start a business, I never, ever, not even know what multi-level marketing was. If that really kind of lets you know how, I guess you could say even when I was at the time, I didn't know what multi-level marketing, network marketing was. I didn't know what the concept was. I didn't know what Amway was. I didn't know what Herbalife was. I didn't know what all the big names, that out there that are available in, in the space, right? I didn't even know Tupperware was a multi-level marketing company. I thought Tupperware was just a brand that, they sold in the store. I'm like, no. I was like, just mind-blowing to me. I learned so much in such a short amount of time. And I was enlightened to, like I said, I want to anchor back the idea that I could help enough other people get what they want and ultimately get what I want. Which was, I just wanted to be able to support my family. Really, at that time, I just wanted to have the money to be the best father I could be. And, even to the point would be the best son I could be the best brother I could be the best, friend, person I could be to other people. And I realized, I was in such a space at that time where I was just looking to get my head above water. I was just looking, it was just about me. It wasn't about nobody. It was just about me and my immediate family. It was me, my wife, which is actually at the time, we're still married at the time, we're separated, and my son. That was it. I was just trying to take care of myself and them. You know what I mean? That was the point I was at. And when I saw this, I said, whoa, this is a game changer right here. This really opened up my mind to that. And what this allowed me to do is, I remember the book he handed to me. I think he handed me this book. I'm pretty sure he did. I want to say he handed me this book. It's a book that probably a lot of people know about. And it was a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I remember reading that book. And that was probably, if I'm not mistaken, the first book I read that really was in the space of personal growth. And again, it's kind of like all these things all the way up to the point right now I've kind of snowballed into have been starting from that point, and it captivated me that there's something called personal development and personal growth, which is just a kind of a fancier way to say learning, right? Learning. Because I remember being in school for years, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I'd venture to say it's not just me, in that I would be in school and I would just be counting down the years when I'm like, I could be an adult. I can't wait to be an adult, because when I'm an adult, then I could do all the cool adult stuff that I can't do now. You know, and I was so stoked about that. You know, that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be an adult, and the years started coming on. I was like, oh shoot, elementary, middle school, as they so much. There's so much on the internet. It can be overwhelming. So it's like, how do you sift through that and know what's good, what's real, and what's fake, and what's just an absolute disaster? And comes with experience, right? And ultimately, all that has led up to this point right here, right now, creating this very first video. Why? Because everybody else who create YouTube videos, they had to start from one. I think that's pretty neat, actually. If you think about that concept, unless they did, even if they did, well, let's just say they did one video and did a video right afterwards, still one. It's still one, then a second video, right? If we know what we know right now, according to our, what society views as a video starting and stopping. By the moment I stop this video, this could be considered my first video because it's the first one. That probably wasn't a big revelation, what I just said, but that's really what it comes down to. So if you're seeing this, it's probably going to be a very rough video. Obviously, I'm not looking into the camera that much, but I thought about it and I thought, man, how am I going to find the time to do a video and put it on YouTube, right? Usually all these YouTube guys, they have this real nice background, they got a desk in front of them, they got these super cool things behind them, right? And everything's all polished. But then a lot of times what I found that's probably inspirational in this moment is if you go to these YouTube experts, right, who've been on, they've made a lot of content, a lot of videos, it's very polished. But if you go back, I think with every single one of them that I've gone back and looked at their videos 5, 7, 10 years ago, it looks probably a lot like this. It looks rough. The video quality is not that great. Maybe the sound's not, as crisp, and the words and, their inflection and the message they're trying to get across really wasn't as good as what it is now. And that's to be expected, right? That just comes with putting in the work. I don't think anybody is going to start from day one. In fact, it's just